Today we're going to be making 3 easy skillet meals using chicken from a can. I started by going to my local Dollar Tree to pick up some ingredients. Now I'm using Dollar Tree because I know it's one of the most accessible grocery stores for a lot of people. You may be able to get a lot of these ingredients cheaper at other stores. This is the store that I'm using for this video. So I went ahead and picked up a bunch of ingredients, including the last 2 cans of chicken that were at this store. I hope they are getting some more in stock. They did have a lot of tuna, but this is the last ones that I found can-wise. Because of that, I did pick up this chicken with rice soup to use in one of our recipes instead of a can of chicken. This first recipe is a chicken Alfredo gnocchi skillet. You're gonna need 1 can of chicken, 1 can of peas, 1 pack of potato gnocchi, 1 can of Prego Alfredo sauce, and then if you wanted to, you could have some shredded Parmesan. I found it didn't add a whole lot to the dish though, so I would leave it off. Now I did open my can, and as you can see there's some liquid inside. This is just chicken broth. I went ahead and drained it and rinsed my chicken, but I put the chicken broth aside to use in a soup later. I then stuck my drained can of chicken into the pan and then went ahead and stirred it around until I saw that it had started to get a little bit of color on it. Then I added in my pack of potato gnocchi and stirred that around as well until it started to get a little bit of color. I like to pan fry a little bit first, whatever I'm making, just to get that added color into a dish, especially one like this that is going to have a lot of white colors inside of it because the chicken is white and the potato gnocchi is white. So it just helps to add a little bit of color to the dish. As you can see, my chicken is starting to get a little bit of color as well as the gnocchi. That's when I know that it's time to go ahead and add in a cup of water. This is going to help that potato gnocchi to cook all the way through, as I don't have a lot of oil in this pan to pan fry it all the way. So then I added in my can of Prego as well. You can use any Alfredo sauce or even make one from scratch if you have those ingredients, but I wanted to keep this really simple. In fact, this is so simple that it is just things that you could find in your cupboard as well. It's not involving anything that you would need from your fridge. I then drained that can of peas as you saw and added that in, and then just added in a little bit of pepper. You could add some salt if you want, but I felt like it was salty enough, and this is our finished dish. I did add some of this grated Parmesan on top. I know they have a different Parmesan that's supposed to be a better quality than this one, but I didn't see it this time around, so I ended up getting that one. But I didn't find this added a whole lot to the dish, so I would just leave that off and just continue to enjoy the dish without that Parmesan. I had leftovers from this dish the next day at work. I found it reheated really well, that the potato gnocchi had really soaked up a lot of the flavor, and it tasted really good the second day as well. Next up, we're making this chicken stuffing skillet. You're going to need 1 box of the chicken stuffing. This says it serves 6. I feel like this dish in the end is going to serve about 4 decent sized servings. Then you're going to go ahead and get your can of chicken with rice. If you have a can of plain chicken as well, you could add that as well as that can of soup. And then your cut green beans. I like to let mine kind of thaw in the fridge. I feel like they have a more vibrant color whenever I use all of my frozen ingredients. I normally let them thaw first in the fridge just because I find they have a more vibrant color and just make the dish pop a lot more when I let them thaw first for some reason. Then I went ahead and added in that can of chicken into the chicken soup into my pan, and I refilled that whole can with water and put that as well into the pan and let that kind of come to a simmer. Then I took about 1/4 cup of my stuffing mix into a separate container and crushed it slightly so that we could have a little crumb coating topping for the dish. I went ahead and added in my green beans. As you can see, they're a vibrant green color. I really appreciate the fact that I can have some vibrancy even when I'm getting vegetables from the Dollar Tree. I find that a lot of times their things are not as fresh, so I always appreciate when it is. Then I went ahead and added in that whole pack of stuffing and stirred it around. Now, if you do like your stuffing to be a little bit more on the drier side, right now you can see it's pretty watery, but it will soak up all the different liquids in this dish and thicken up. But if you like it a lot thicker than that, then you are going to want to put in less than a can, maybe about a half a can of water instead of that whole can of water. I just went ahead and plated things up once it had reached my desired thickness and once those green beans had gotten tender, and then I added on a little bit of the crushed up breadcrumbs or croutons that we had from the stuffing mix and put that on top. And here's our finished meal. It's well rounded, it's got chicken, it's got green beans, it's got stuffing, and what's not to love? It is really delicious. Next up, we're making a cheesy chicken potato skillet. We're going to use California blend, these straight cut french fries. Rebecca at Dollar Tree Dinners was the first one that kind of alerted me to the fact that there's pretty much only potato in these french fries. So if you are wishing that you had access to potatoes that are not canned, Dollar Tree does have these french fries that are basically potatoes. So you can cut those up and use them in place of potatoes. I also used a can of chicken and a can of cheese nacho sauce. I do wish I had used Velveeta, one of the packets of Velveeta you can get at the Dollar Tree, instead of the can of cheese. So that's what I'm going to put in my recipe because I think that would have worked way better and just tasted a lot better. It had more of an artificial flavor as far as the dish goes because of that cheese. So use Velveeta instead. I went ahead and sliced up my potatoes. As you can see, we got a ton of cubed potatoes here. Who would have thought Dollar Tree has potatoes? I took about a tablespoon of margarine, just kind of melted it in my pan because I did want to crisp up the potatoes and just kind of get a little bit of color going on them. Then I added my potatoes into my hot pan and stirred them around until I saw that they started getting a little bit of color on them. And I did want to add that if you haven't checked out Rebecca's channel over at Dollar Tree Dinners, that channel is excellent, especially if you only have Dollar Tree available near you or you're on a very tight budget. She has some excellent videos over there. I then added to this dish that can of drained and rinsed chicken and then my bag of veggies. I saw that a lot of the carrots and things were a little bit large, so of course I used my handy dandy kitchen shears, which are my favorite kitchen appliance or kitchen tool, and cut those carrots up a little bit smaller. Then I added in my nacho cheese sauce. As you see, it's pretty thin, so I think that's part of what added a little bit of a different kind of taste or texture to this dish, because other than the cheese, I felt like it was pretty spot on. So I would use Velveeta instead, just to add a little bit more of the saltiness, a little bit more of a richer flavor than the cheese, because the cheese I feel like is a little bit watered down at Dollar Tree. I also added in some pepper and then I tasted it. I didn't feel like it needed any salt, so I did not add any. Of course, you can add any seasonings that you like. Salt or garlic powder would be a really good one in this dish. I went ahead and plated everything up. It reminded me a lot of the Voila dishes that they have in the freezer section at Walmart, where you just throw everything in the bag in a pan and add the cheese sauce packet and you have a complete meal. Except this one was about a fourth of the price of one of the bags from Walmart. I hope this has given you some inspiration and I hope to see you in the next one.